So, beginning with chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra. So, what we'll do is we'll read one line of the Sanskrit, and then you can repeat it, and then someone can read the translation and repeat it. Okay. Dhritarashtra Vachan
Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Dharma Kshetre Kurukṣetre
Dharmashetra Kurukshetra
Samaveta Yuyutsava
Samaveta
Mamaka Pandavascheva
Mama Pandavascha
Kim Akurvata Sanjaya.
Kim Akurvata Sanjaya.
Okay. So, somebody can read? Translation and proper by Srila Prabhupada.
Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the pilgrimage at Kurukṣetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read the Bhagavad Gita very scrupulously with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interruptions. The example of clear understanding is there in Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad Gita in that line of discipline succession, without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science which is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The
So
topics
here,
discussed.
I'll just point out one thing. Prabhupada is saying that if we are able to hear, if we are fortunate to hear the Bhagavad Gita, understand the Bhagavad Gita in the line of disciplic succession. So we are hearing it in the line of disciplic succession because we are hearing it from Prabhupada. We just heard the last time how he is in the disciplic succession. At the end of the introduction, he has put it. And then Prabhupada is saying, without motivated interpretation, because many of us might try to put in our interpretation to the Bhagavad Gita. But if we do that, then we will not be able to understand Bhagavad Gita. If we are trying to use the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita for our own manipulation, for our own personal agenda, then we will not be able to understand. So Prabhupada is saying, try to hear it as it is, without without us putting our interpretations in it. And then we will be able to understand perfectly, because this is a great science, spoken by the Lord himself.
Six discussed by Dhritam and Sanjay as described in Mahabharata form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. The word Dharamkshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibilities of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjay, what did they do? He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukṣetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukṣetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship. Even for the denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably, well, that this would favorably because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjay was a student of Vyas, and therefore, by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjay was able to envision the battle of the Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so, Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. Both
So
the
we can see,
Pandavas,
I'll just, because, many people, they think that Kurukshetra, because there are some people who comment on the Bhagavad Gita who say that Kurukshetra is not a real place, Kurukshetra means this body. No, Kurukshetra is a real place. It still exists. It's there in India. It is a real place because some try to minimize the place where the battle of Mahabharata of Kurukshetra was happening, just to minimize the position of Krishna. But no, they are real. The place is real. The Pandavas are real people. Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was present on the battle. Now, why is Dhritarashtra asking this question? Why is because this the first Bhagavad Gita is in beginning with the inquiry, and the inquiry is from Dhritarashtra that now that they are assembled on this place of pilgrimage, that's a point to be noted
yeah,
because Kurukshetra is just not an ordinary place. The battle this is a religious place. That's where the battle is happening. Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra is a place of pilgrimage, and they're going to be having a war, but it's called a pilgrimage place because it's a religious war. So why is Dhritarashtra asking this question to Sanjaya?
because he was doubting that this place is a very religious place, and by the influence of this place, the Pandavas are actually going to win the war. But if the place is influenced by his own sons, the Kauravas, and then they might leave their decision. They might change their decision to fight, and by the influence of that place, because that was a place of pilgrimage and very pious activities had already done in long back. So
Yeah, that's
he was
right.
that they might leave the battle or lose the battle. That's why he was asking this question to his.
Yeah, so we can see that Dhritarashtra did not want a compromise. He wanted the fight to happen. He didn't want to settle without a fight. He was so desirous to be the king. So yes, thank you. So we continue reading.
Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. They deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy fields, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious feast of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like the Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhan and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons, headed by Yudhishthira, would be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the word Dharamkshetra and Kurukshetra apart from their historical and Vedic importance.
So another point Prabhupada is pointing out to us that we can see the mind of Dhritarashtra. He's separating the family. He's saying, my sons, the Kurus, and the sons of Pandu. So he's not looking that actually even the Pandus are Kurus, no? It's the same family. But he's putting a division here. He's calling only his sons as the Kurus, and all the sons of Pandu are different. So the mind of the Dhritarashtra is very easily evident in this verse. So let's continue to read.
Sanjay उवाच दृष्ट्वा तु पाण्डवानीकं व्यूढं दुर्योधनस्तदा आचार्य उपसंगम्य राजा वज्रम् अब्रवीत्. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Shall I read it? Yeah. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjay could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. Sanjay wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise with the influence of the holy place. Sanjay therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhan, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to
Hare Krishna Yogita, we lost you. Can't hear you. Oh, is that me? Oh, my net is bad. Hare Krishna.